I love my kids more than anything, but I think becoming a parent, I lost me. Hate it or love it, it's my truth. And I feel like with working, I found my identity again.
This week on the Powerhouse Diaries, we have another absolute powerhouse. This guest found herself with 3 young kids trying to juggle a family and a job and realizing the math wasn't mathing. There's just not enough hours in a day, and the system she was moving in was not built for us.
I work with thousands of mums. I look at social media and external pressures and internal pressures, and you're meant to be the best mum, the best partner, the best friend. You're meant to be a gentle parent and have a clean house and have a career, and the reality is that is not possible. There is no such thing.
So she took it upon herself to change the face of the industry and start a movement to create systemic change impacting 10,000 plus families, businesses, bottom lines, literally changing the game. I am so excited and so honored to welcome Mela Lush. Welcome to the Powerhouse Diaries, the podcast for and by brave, bold, and badass business owners. If you're an entrepreneur who has outgrown those cookie cutter business strategies and #girl boss cliches, you're in the right place. Because let's face it, entrepreneurship is at least equal parts messy buns and runny mascara as it is the highlight reel we see online. So let's get real about what it really takes to build and run a quote-unquote successful business, blood, sweat, and margaritas included. I'm your host, Mela, your rebellious entrepreneurial fairy godmother, and join me as I sit down with rockstar female founders for the most juicy, deep, and meaningfuls around success, life, and everything in between. Now it's time for you to step into your powerhouse era. Oh my God, I am so excited to welcome you here at the Powerhouse Diaries, Mela. Welcome.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's like when we were speaking on the phone the other day in preparation for this interview, we were already like, okay, we just don't want this conversation to end. You know, so many similarities and big topics. And like right before we started rolling, and let's just kind of circle back and start there with, you know, maybe a bit of a controversial and unpopular opinion. Because what were you just saying to me? And I was like,
hands up. For me, I find work far easier than parenting. You know, hate it or love it, it's my truth.
Yeah.
And I feel like with working, I found my identity again.
Yes.
You know, I feel like I love my kids more than anything, but I think becoming a parent, I lost me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know who I was. And then the in-between, the transitional phase where, you know, you're ambitious and you're looking to drive your career, but then you're also a parent, and then you want to love and nurture. And I found that bit so messy, and I'm so happy now to have found me again.
Oh, and it's so important because when we become a parent, especially, and I think in that stage of your life, you are someone's something. You know, the wife of, the partner of, the mother of, the daughter of, the this. And I came to a point in my life where I was really good at playing all these parts that I'd made up in my mind. Like I thought this was what it was supposed to look like. But I actually had no idea what or who I was outside of that.
100%. And then you kind of, I don't know if it's just me, but when I went into, you know, my marriage and my role as a parent and as a wife and, you know, as an employee, I kind of had this fairy tale vision of what I thought it would be. You know, you watch the Disney movies and like you get married, you have children, and there's like a happily ever after. But what you don't realize is like the transition or the phases of life, and life really tests you and pushes you. Yeah. And it's so crazy.
It's crazy. And it's funny because it shows how kind of indoctrinated, programmed we are to play a certain part, because our happily ever after looks different for everyone and looks different at different stages of your life.
100%. And I feel like, you know, I work with thousands of mums, and I don't know, I look at social media and you know, external pressures and internal pressures, and you know, you're meant to be the best mum, the best partner, the best friend. You know, you're meant to be a gentle parent and have a clean house and have a career and but the reality is that is not possible. There is no such thing.
Not
as
all at
balance.
once. No, I really believe, yes, we can have it all, we can be it all, but not all at the same time. And we get to pick and choose. And you have to.
100%. I think how I think of power now is that the ability to have a choice.
Yes.
It's that choice that you have. And I guess in my line of work, we talk with a lot of parents and also employers. It's like a lot of people, especially women, deal with a lot of guilt.
So let's circle back for a second, because we skipped over your line of work, because you, like you said, you had kids, you were an employee, you were playing the part of wife, mom, employee, all the things. And here we are. You were just saying you were recently on a live stream with how many people?
It was 3 million.
Oh, just 3 million people casually. You work with thousands of women. You've built a business from the ground up to incredible proportions. Fill me in.
Yeah, look, my story might be just like your story. My story began, maybe 3 years ago. I was
3 years only.
3 years.
That's crazy.
It's been a roller coaster, but it was, I'll give you a little bit of a background, but I'm the founder of an organization called Jobs for Mums.
Yeah.
And Jobs for Mums actually started out of my own need. In that, I had very young children. I had a child with a health problem. I had a newborn, and I had an ex-partner who was unwell. And so, it was just, and then I was commuting 129 kilometers a day.
Oh, God.
And it was crazy to me. I'd worked in leadership, and I knew that what the statistics were saying around, motherhood being a barrier, and, it's prohibiting or stalling careers. But I didn't really know.
No.
Until I was in that moment where I was the statistic.
Oh, what a way to put it. I was the statistic.
And so many of us are without even realizing. And before, having kids, I was always ambitious. I've always been very driven. I've always had a drive or a fire. But I feel like having kids is kind of, I gained this new level of awareness, and I believe with awareness is responsibility.
And choice. Awareness precedes choice. And if choice is your success, is your freedom, you cannot have it if you don't have awareness of your life, what's going on.
Exactly. And, so I kind of, in the living room with my little babies at home, I built this platform, and I built it myself.
So this platform, when you started out, you were like, I need to find, because you said something really beautiful to me. You said, we are operating in a system that is not built for us. That's actually built almost against us.
And it is.
And so you were working in this job, and you decided to go out on your own and create something. What was the vision?
Yeah, look, like I said to you before, for me, power is choice. And I wanted to give that to every single woman out there, because I didn't have it at that time.
Just a small mission, guys. Every single woman. Yeah.
Well, it was my kids, they were my anchor. I didn't want them. I wanted to, it impacts generations.
Yeah.
And I looked at them, and I just knew that something had to change. And of course I didn't know I'd actually do it. At the time you're like, everyone's like, yeah, you are, you're going to
How's your little business going?
That's what I used to tell them, it's growing. And that's the reality, is you don't know what you don't know, but you tried. And I did try. So I thought, what I would do is, I'm going to raise awareness of the motherhood penalty. I'm going to work with the biggest companies in the country. Yeah. I'm going to create new pathways into employment. And I'm going to do this whilst looking after my children.
Of course. Do you want to add anything else to that?
That was the mission. Yeah. And it was such a surreal moment to... But, my story isn't unique. I know there's so many women out there that choose entrepreneurship because there isn't any other, it gives them... It's
true. And I think it comes with a lot of disillusion, I think, often, because a lot of people start as a founder and because they want the freedom, and end up, actually, that's what I did. I started my agency thinking, I don't want to work for a boss anymore. I want to do things my way. And what I ended up building was a golden prison for myself.
100%. Yeah. And that's the truth. It's like entrepreneurship is not for the faint-hearted. And yeah, it's not been an easy thing, but I think for me, the coolest part is that it's the impact that I get to see.
Yeah.
And we've supported over 10,000 women now. And you think, from me on the couch to the ability to have impacted 10,000 families, like, it's my why, because I look at my kids and I go, I just hope that other people have the same opportunities, if not more, you know, and have a life on their terms and have a choice. You know, it's not that you have to compromise between having a career and a family. And it is systemic. Like, I try really hard not to give any advice to women, to not make it about them being the issue or even promote balance. It's around a systemic issue where...
Yeah.
You know,
balance. Don't get me started on balance.
Oh my God. It's like the buzzword of the century, but it isn't real. And same with, you know, I can talk about flexibility as well, but I feel like we talked about, it's this illusion that we just can't do it all, because the way that we're working isn't working for anybody. You've got a 9 to 5 work day, but then you've got a 9 to 3 school day.
Yeah.
And then, you know, it was designed in an age where it was the Industrial Revolution, where someone would be staying at home and someone would be working in parallel.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, you can't. You need to survive. You need to earn. But also, we've got 4 months of school holidays, and, you know, you've got 1 month of annual leave, provided you're not a solo parent. How does that work? It's systemic.
The math ain't mathing, guys.
It's not mathing, but it's also a huge percent of the population are parents. Like, if you look at our workforce, you know, 60-70% potentially are parents.
Yeah.
And so then, you know, this is how guilt starts. I know it's a lot of, you know, social pressure, but you just can't do it all, because, like, just physically, you can't do it all.
There's not enough hours in a day, but somehow you are expected to work as if you don't have kids and raise your kids as if you don't have a job or don't have a business.
100%.
And I think the problem is, because it's systemic, we also buy into it.
Exactly.
Like, we also are like, okay, there's something wrong with us for not being able to juggle all these things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then that's when the guilt comes in. Like, one of the biggest barriers for a lot of the women we speak to is this guilt. Like, I'm not...
mom guilt. We're so good at that.
It's like, you know, self-shaming. It's like, I'm not doing a good enough job because I have to provide for my kids, or I want to spend time with my kids. The thing is, it's like, you're not going to win either way. Like, it's systemic. So you just do what you can.
Yeah.
You accept that, you know, you're doing your best.
Yeah.
And that's enough.
Yeah, and there's seasons. I think there's seasons where one takes, you know, more energy, more bandwidth, more mental power than the other. And it's a scale, and it has to be fluid, and you have to be able to move on that 100%. And be okay with it. There's times where my business requires more of me.
Yeah.
Which is something that I'm aware of, so I can set up the support systems to allow me to do that as a solo mom, you know, away from any family 100% of the time. It's one thing to realize that, but then, okay, how? Like, great story, but
how do
you know,
you
these kids still kind of, you know, need food, and a couple times a day. It's quite rude. Every day. And then there's times where my family requires more of me, and then I and you, we have the luxury that we also worked our asses off for, that we're in the driver's seat of our business, so we can, you know, navigate around our family's needs. However, for a lot of people in employment, that is not the case. So
it's a necessity, right?
But how did you, because you had this vision, and I can kind of just see you, you know, putting your warrior stripes on, and you're like, I'm going to change the world. And then you run into the big bad world where this is systemic. All these things are in place. Yeah. And you're like, I have a dream.
Yeah.
And all of you, I'm assuming also a lot of male-dominated businesses are just going to have to kind of, you know, change, and I'm sure they love that. How did that go?
Loved it.
I know.
Especially a mom bringing in her children with her. But look,
Oh God, really? Tell me about that.
like I've been in just in situations where, and not just me, my co-founders as well, we bring the kids. We have to.
Yeah. And it's also great marketing. Yeah. Guys, like, this is the point.
You can't handle this. This is a test on you. But I think my approach was very simple. And it sounds simple to me, but I think now that I think about it, I was crazy.
Yeah.
But also crazy is what you need.
All you need. I think if anyone knew what they were getting themselves into, they wouldn't do it. And simple and easy are also two different things.
That's so true. For my vision was to create a movement. I was like, well, I'm a marketer. I can create a movement. Like, I can do this. And so my strategy was like, well, I'm just going to get the people.
Yeah.
And the businesses will come, because the people, like, I know some kick-ass mums out there, and I know some amazing, talented people that anyone would love to have as an employee. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ignore the businesses. I'm going to go straight to the people. And that was kind of my strategy. And so what I did is I kind of posted on community groups. I didn't have a budget. So I didn't have any money. I borrowed some money from my parents to build the platform. And so I posted on community groups. And then, within a month or so, I believe, of launching, we were on the front page of the Herald.
Oh my God.
And that's where we got employers coming to us, because it was so timely. We still do. We have this critical skills shortage, and we were unlocking the world's largest hidden workforce.
Yeah, and so talented. And beyond the talent and the skill set, I don't know the exact statistics, but there's research shows that mums specifically have the ability to balance. I mean, that you have to, right? Yeah. They are the most multifaceted, driven people to have in your workforce if they get the flexibility.
That's it.
To mum it.
A very large percentage, a lot of women struggle to re-enter the workforce after having children. And this flexibility seems to be the elephant in the room. But you're right, in terms of what we know we can achieve, it's a win-win for families and for businesses, but also the economy. If we can do what we set out to do, that is $12 billion for the New Zealand economy in the next 5 years.
Fuck yeah.
And so it's like, well, it makes economic sense, so much so that it's actually our movement as part of the UN Sustainable Development Goals around work-life effectiveness, because it improves a lot of things. It drives gender equity, it reduces poverty, improves well-being, and it also increases productivity. Because imagine if you got given the ability to be your authentic self at work, how much more you'd give, because they see you, they see your value. You're not punished, or you have the same opportunities just because you're a parent. And so
it's actually almost ridiculous that you have to say that, but
2025.
But it's true.
But it's the data. Like, it's like I talk about my story, but it's not even my story, because it's everybody's story.
Yeah.
And when I speak to thousands of people, we had 1.1 million views on our website last year alone. And you kind of think, the conversations I'm having these incredible people come to me saying, I want an admin job, or I want something that I can do around the children. And it's like, it's not just unemployment, it's underemployment.
Yeah.
And there's such a cost to the economy, to families, to that person's career. And
well, and I would go even further than that, also to someone's sense of self,
100%.
Their sense of worth. I mean, we touched upon it earlier. You're like, my work, gives me a sense of identity.
Yeah.
I want to circle back to that, because there I have thoughts. But the effect on mental health and actually there's research that recently came out that said the biggest contributing factor to happy, healthy children is the wellness of the mother specifically. Yes. If the mother is happy, the rest flows. And the statistics around it were absurd. We're like, outrageous, the impact that has on the kids, on the wider community. So if we have been walking around half the society in a framework that wasn't built for us. So that constantly leaves us feeling less than.
Or guilty or inferior.
What does that do to your sense of self?
And you're right, like it's just not, it isn't benefiting anyone, especially, you know, families.
Yeah.
And the toll it takes on, you know, your identity, your sense of self. And it is important. I feel like a lot of the women that come to us do want this sense of self back. And that's actually a big motivator. And they're not necessarily, and, you know, everyone's got a choice, but they might not necessarily want the big career, but they do want their identity. They do want purpose. They want,
and something that's theirs.
And like, it's easier. Like, and I always laugh because I'm like, after dealing with my kids, I reckon like my productivity has gone through the roof, but also the ability to handle people's shit.
Yeah.
You know, and like, I'm like, oh, I'm not afraid of you anymore. Like, you have no idea what I have to deal with at home, or like the pressures.
I have 3 little tyrants.
Yeah.
You don't scare me, sir.
Yeah.
Have you met my 2-year-old? Yeah. Clearly not.
I can negotiate like anyone else. Yeah, like really well.
Yeah. Oh my God. So I'm curious, right? So the Powerhouse Diaries, a lot of the listeners are female founders like you and I. What is, you know, because how is your journey? Because yes, you're creating all these jobs, but your journey was as a mom of 3 kids and then building this business that exploded. How did that go for you? And, you know, what is something you can, share around that?
Yeah, look, I feel like I don't think about it too much. Like, if I think about it too much, my head explodes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because you're like, how did I get here? Like,
just keep going.
Did I turn off the oven? Have I not turned?
The lamp looks weird.
Yeah. It's like my autistic self goes everywhere, and like, and so I guess what I try and think about is like, I just try and put one foot in front of the other. Yeah. And like, you know, like anyone else, massive imposter syndrome, because you kind of well, because the higher you get, the more a higher level of success you get, the more the louder it gets.
This is so important to touch upon, because people operate under the impression that there is a if this then that kind of equation. When I get there, then I will feel worthy or safe or good enough or all of that. And that is one of the biggest lies. You know, you never get there.
No, in anything, not just in business.
No, unless you create that knowing within yourself. And then, you know what? Then there's a next challenge that comes up where you're like, oh my God, okay, I nailed that. Like I actually, you know, don't feel like I don't belong in every room anymore. And then something new comes up.
Exactly. And, you know, I've had to reframe it in 2 ways. Like for me, I'm like, if I'm feeling that imposter syndrome, which I get like daily, I'm like, it's because I'm pushing myself. I'm in a, you know, I'm growing because I'm now in an even more awkward, uncomfortable situation.
Yeah.
Like, and
you're like, thank you, discomfort. It must mean that I'm doing something right.
Exactly.
It would be nice if we could do it a little bit more pleasantly.
Could we have a rosé at the same time?
Yes, we can. I'm bringing that in, guys.
I do feel like sometimes I kind of sit like in my head, I'm just like how did you get to a point where not only you're like you're in meetings with these amazing influential CEOs and, you know, policymakers, but you're also leading the conversation. And then you're like, who am I? And what the heck?
Why are they all listening to me?
What am I saying that's like, you know, and then I have to remember, like, it's part of growth. It's part of, and you don't have to have all the answers. And I've also had to...
I think there's such strength actually in that. And that is something, I mean, it's not exclusively women, but I think we can be champions at that, is being okay with not knowing, being okay with not having all the answers, because motherhood also demands that we run around from time to time, like fucking pulling our hair out, wondering what the hell. And being, because there's such power in not knowing. There's power in being the dumbest person in the room.
There's so much power in everything. And like we see it in our data as well, like, you know, running an organization that's a lot of female candidates come to us, and a lot of males as well. But we see it very interestingly, like if if a female candidate doesn't meet all the criteria, for example,
Oh, yes.
they won't apply. And I'm like, that is imposter syndrome. It's like you need to have the answers.
Yeah.
And you're also, I think a lot of it is a fear of failure. Like, what if they find out that you're
Is it
a fraud?
a fear of failure or is it a fear of success?
That's the other I think that's a good question. It's like my latest realization is that I guess the way I'm thinking about it is that I trust myself more than I fear failure. Is how I'm like reframing this era. I'm like, oh, I can fail, and look, I probably will. And what? Like,
well, also like we fail forward.
Yeah.
Like, and what is failure? Like, I was speaking to one of my coaching clients the other day, and she's like trying to make this big decision, and she's like, but what if I make the wrong decision? What if I make a mistake? And I asked her, what's a mistake? Yeah. Like, how do we know it's a mistake? Like, tell me any situation, any decision you've made in the past that turned out differently than you wanted it, maybe negatively so, but would you now say it was a mistake, or did that actually lead you exactly to where you needed to be? And if you know that will always, you will always have the ability to navigate where you are.
100%.
There's no right decision. There's no wrong decision. There's just
learning.
Yeah. And a decision, just move, just action.
And it is okay either way. I've been in some funny situations where, being in marketing, when you've done some really funny like bloopers.
Oh, yes. Oh, tell me some good ones.
Okay, like, you can cut this out, but when I was working for a leadership institute, I emailed 20,000 leaders that we help leaders get head instead of our head. Because I'm so dyslexic.
How many people replied and said, sign me up?
Oh, we got a formal complaint, but it was like, I couldn't hide. And I was just like, I'm putting this in my epic fail folder. And
I love this. This is what I call a fabulous fuck up. It's just too good.
So from that, nothing's scary anymore, because there was like the Prime Minister. It's just like quite a few like senior leaders in that. But you know what? It was very engaged, a high engagement level. But I do agree with you. I think it's an opportunity to learn and grow. And like, I welcome fear in now. Yeah. It's like cognitive behavior therapy, where I'm like, oh yeah, that's an intrusive thought. Would you like a drink? And come in with me. Yep. No, I don't know what I'm doing. Yep. I have no clue. Yep. Just winging it. And then you're like, and what? Like,
everyone is winging it, though. Anyone who says they're not winging it is full of shit.
100%. Because, like, how do you know everything? You've got to experience it.
Yeah. And that's true in business and in motherhood and just in life in general. I remember a breakthrough conversation with my son. I think he was 15 at the time. And we had a huge like debate, and we can have some good conversations. And at one point he looked at me, and it was like this aha moment. And I'm like, what? He's like, oh my God, I just realized this is your first time being a mom too. And I didn't come with an IKEA manual. Oh. And I'm like, yes, thank you. But yeah, and that is true. This is like, we're all doing, we're all being the version of ourselves that we are today for the first time.
100%. And it's like, we're so complex as people. The older you get, the more you realize like your upbringing, the way that you see the world, your experiences, you everything, it sort of shapes your vision of reality. Yeah. But everyone's different. And like, that is diversity, right? Yeah. And it's celebrated, and it's okay if you fail. Like, I failed heaps.
Same. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, especially if you're a female entrepreneur. Like, it isn't easy. Like, I mean, it's not easy in general, but I think, it's failure is part of it, but it's not really failure. It's just a lesson.
So what is like if you had to choose the most transformative lesson, because you've had such a intense journey in a very compact amount of time, your life and your identity from where you were 3 years ago to now, night and day.
So different.
What is like the main takeaway from this roller coaster?
I think it's just putting one foot in front of the other. Like, I don't have a choice not to be strong. I don't have a choice. Like, if I'm scared, I don't see it as a choice that I don't get to show up, right? Like, I'm scared, of course. I'm tired, of course. Like that's a given. Like perpetually tired, but I just put one foot in front of the other and keep going. Like that's the only thing I've learned is like life throws you shit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good shit, sometimes it's bad.
Yeah.
And all you can do is rise above it, learn, and put one foot in front of the other. And when it gets exhausting or overwhelming, or you as an entrepreneur, you know that it's like the roller coaster.
And it's also part of it. And the funny thing is, something I've been playing with recently is, you say sometimes it's good shit, sometimes it's bad shit. Who knows? Yeah. Sometimes the shit that looks terrible, like I've had my lowest moments where it's like my life is ending. In hindsight, I'm like, fuck, that happened. Yeah. And some of the things that I was so proud of, I'm like, look how great this is. In hindsight, I'm like, oh, that was actually the beginning of something so rough.
Totally. That's so true. And like that's in our personal lives as well. Like, and I think when, like, I used to think that when something ends or isn't good, that was it. But actually it's a new beginning. It's like a new chapter. It's like, oh, that ended. And business as well. Like, if you have a setback or if you're, whatever happens, but what you can reframe it as an opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about your perspective. We were just talking about this earlier. Like, it's the perspective. Nothing actually has, this sounds really existential, guys, but nothing really has meaning, like True. Good or bad or positive or negative. It's how we look at it. Yeah. And it's also what we allow it to be. If we decide that, the burnt toast theory, right? Like, you burn your toast, late, stuck in traffic, miss your flight. Oh, terrible plane crashes. Totally. You don't know. So why don't just approach things that happen like, it sucks, it's hard, but whether it's good or bad, I don't know, but I trust. I trust in my ability to whatever it is that I can navigate it.
Exactly. I love that because it's like, I think that's my biggest transition as well. It's like, it's come now inwards. Yeah. Like, it was outwards maybe before, but now it's like my relationship is so with me, and it's like, I don't know what's going to happen next. I have no idea, but I trust that whatever it is,
I've got my own bag.
I got this. Like, okay, it's not gonna work. Okay, but I'll be there. Yeah. And if it is gonna work, then great. And also, like, I think that things. This is my own philosophy, but I think things happen for a reason, and sometimes you can't see it. Yes. A reason, season, or a lifetime. You've heard that. But I think in business as well, some things you can't see, and sometimes you can't see when you're really in something. When you're a founder or you're a powerhouse, or you can't see because you're in it. Yeah, you're living it. You're in this cloud, and you can make sense of other people's businesses or journeys, but you can't always make sense of your own. It's like, oh God, yes. I've had that in my personal life and in my business, where in my personal life, been in situations where if a friend of mine had come to me and said, oh yeah, like, this is what's going on in my life or in my relationship, I'd be like, where's my pitchfork? Let's go. Exactly. And for myself, I was like, oh, this is totally fine. Only afterwards, I'm like, how? Like, I'm a high functioning person. I'm not an idiot. But I couldn't see it. And the same in business, like where you can see ways out or different strategies. Yeah. We get attached. We get attached to strategies or things we're doing because we spend a long time doing it. Yeah. So how do you create the space to reflect and to look at it? Because you need to get that bird's eye view. I think it's self-awareness. Like, I've invested a lot in, like, I feel like if I'm okay mentally, then I make better decisions. I'm a better leader. I can, but I've noticed, and I firmly believe this for every woman and everyone, not just women, but like, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't. And sometimes, you're in the thick of it, you're in the clouds, you can't see, but maybe it's because your cup is empty. And it's like this misconception that, I'm going to have a nap today, or I'm going to take a day. I'll take a day off, or I'll go on a holiday for a week, and then
then I'll be fine.
Exactly. But I think there was a Harvard study, and it was like, you actually need 7 different types of rest. And it's like spiritual rest. Is it like physical rest? Is it emotional rest? It's like, maybe that's the first step, is like self-love, compassion, and care. And then it's because you're doing a good job. You really are.
Yeah.
And you're doing the best that you can, but sometimes we don't stop. And I'm just as guilty of this.
Well, because that's it. Like, I couldn't agree more. And you're a mom of 3 kids, a solo mom of 3 kids. You run this business, 7 types of rest. I can hear like this little voice in the back of my head. Yeah, it sounds fucking lovely, but realistically, how do you prioritize that and yourself on a practical level?
Yeah, look, I think it's like the little moments. And this is my own, like I said, like it's hard for me to give tips because I just feel like I'm just like everybody else, right? And like,
yeah, but I think we all, process things in different ways and can learn from each other.
100%. I think it's just those little moments. Like if I haven't spent time with my kids, for example, I make sure that the time I do have is like I'm very engaged. And then for myself, it's like, well, what is it that's one thing? Can I just phone a friend for 5 minutes? Like I'm so grateful to have amazing co-founders, and it's like, I'm just calling you to rant. Or you call a girlfriend or a partner and you just talk about,
anything else.
Anything,
Yeah.
And I think there's those micro moments in life that and I think before starting this, I used to think that happiness and success was like an end goal. Do you know what I mean?
Like a permanent state.
Yeah. It's like, when I do this, I'll be happy. Or when I do this, I'll be successful, or this and that. And I think that's my perceptions changed, where it's like, nah, like life, you just don't know what's going to throw at you. And my version of happiness is very different now.
Yes.
And success, I'm like, my version of success it's actually already a success, because I've got to help thousands of people. And I'm like, that's all I cared about, you know? And they got to have choices that I didn't, that I didn't have at the time.
Stop, you're going to make me cry. It's so powerful. And I just want to like lock in on what you just said, because I think where a lot of us, and fucking guilty as charged, sorry guys, I'm swearing a lot today. It's a day. Is, because we're high achieving humans, we don't do things in halves, as they say. This is one of my favorite Kiwi Australian sayings. We're not here to fuck spiders. So we don't do things in half, which means we often think like, if we need to rest, like
you can rest when you're dead.
You can rest when you're dead, or but it's the micro moments.
Yeah.
Because if we think that we're going to need to have a day, a week, a month where we can only focus on ourselves as a founder, and especially as a mum founder, let's be realistic. Those moments don't exist.
No.
So you're going to have to take those micro moments and really lean in to that, and know that compounds. Like a lot of micro moments are sustaining you, versus just like holding on, hanging in there for one day, maybe. Yeah. I'll get that time off.
Totally. And look, that there is a real cost to burnout. Like, and I've been burnt out before, and and I feel like now as a parent, like I'm like, I can't because I still have to parent at the end of the day. If even if I'm not 100%, even if I've had a shitty day at work, or even if something didn't go my way, or we've lost something, you still have to parent. Yeah. You still have a full-time job that you can't turn off from.
And I think, that was something I had to come to terms with. And, we're often so hard on ourselves and so ungracious with ourselves. Yeah. And you have to realize that I think as mums and as parents, and then especially as solo parents, our version of we haven't done anything is I'm not productive, I'm not good enough, is still
pretty amazing.
It's still like do these kids have food, a roof over their head? Are activities? Are they dressed? Are they happy? Are they healthy? And and is your business still afloat? Great. Have you not completely gone insane? Winning.
100%. And the bar is so high.
Yeah. Because I was like, when all of that was done, I was like, I haven't achieved anything today because I didn't grow my business or didn't. I'm like, hold on.
100%. And like we talked about before, I think a lot of it is also like social media.
Yeah.
I really want to be like someone of influence, but definitely not an influencer, because sometimes I see so much on there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I wonder, I have to have my critical thinking cap on.
Yeah.
Because we kind of sell these lifestyles or like of high achievement as well. And it's difficult.
Oh, and it's dangerous. I mean, that's why we're doing this. It's dangerous because you're out here fighting like systemic belief systems and structures, but we are also keeping it in place by showing only one side of it.
People only think that I only do great things on my social media, but I try not to share it. Like I try and share both good and bad if I share it all.
Yeah.
But it's like I just worry about our kids a lot of the time, because I'm like, the next critical skill in my books is critical thinking. Because like, look at the world and how it's shaping, and like we don't know what's real and what isn't. And so it's like, it's such a scary thing. So I try and lead by example, and critical thinking is like, I think there's so much pressure already to look a certain way. Yeah. To like, to have it all together. And so you're kind of thinking, have I done enough? But
it's also scary because we are to degrees, or we feel we are dependent, whether it's a boss, a client, whatever it is, where critical thinking, or, I think a different variation of that is also just like following your gut.
Yes.
And like against the norm, against like, this is what the computer says, this is what we've always done.
Yeah.
And just really saying why, or that doesn't feel right for me.
Yeah.
But in the face of a certain dependency, that can be really, really scary. So it's so important to create a space where people feel safe to do so.
And like, I think, like we said, normalizing not so, like the hard stuff, the like normalizing life, because we're not being out, it's like there's multiple versions of ourselves that exist currently. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh, yes.
The work persona, the social media persona, the mum, and it's exhausting. Like, do you know what I mean?
Oh, you play all the parts and you switch between it. And I think that's actually the key thing I wanted to circle back to when you were saying, the work gives you a sense of identity, and I can completely relate. I think my question comes from my own experience of when I sold my business, my previous business, which felt like I lost it. It was all very like dramatic. Yeah. I was not gracious in letting it go. And in hindsight, I realized I wasn't, because I genuinely had my whole sense of self tied up in it. I was like, if I am not that,
who am I?
Yeah, like who? But there's literally nothing else. I thought that was my entire being, and I had to lose it and be stripped naked to actually be, actually I'm still standing. Yeah.
And you're so multifaceted. Like that's one area of your identity, right?
Yeah.
And look, you've done it again.
It's funny because there's so much need, and there is so much, I wouldn't say resistance, but I would say like hesitance, because we're not taught that we are social beings, that it is okay to need others, to need parts of yourself mirrored back at you, to need support. Yeah. And I think especially female founders, because we're all like high functioning lunatics. Yeah. Otherwise we wouldn't be doing so high functioning is doubtful at times, but the lunatic for sure. But we are. And I think the sad truth is that for a lot of us, the first half or first part of our entrepreneurial journey, we are extremely lonely.
100%.
We think we're alone. No, we can't share it. It's an incredibly lonely journey,
and tricky, and it's a roller coaster. I think I've been so grateful to my co-founders, if you're listening, just how amazing it is to have them.
Yeah.
And I made the call really early on that there was enough blue sky for everyone. And
I love that.
That's how I feel. Like,
yeah, abundance mindset.
And especially for all the women we support, like I think if there is more women out there that, that support one another, I think it's critical.
Preaching to the choir. Yes. It's so important. And I think it's one thing to support.
Yeah.
I think one thing we can all practice more is receiving support.
Oh.
And asking for it. I don't know about you, but I know that's been a journey for me. Same. And still is.
Yeah. And I think 100% is, and it's for a lot of people. And sometimes it's like, I always try and unpack why. Yeah. But I feel like, it's like, it's a difficult thing, and maybe it's a personal reason. I think for me, it's like, I grew up in a very different, we migrated when there was a war, so we were refugees, and like, it's just, I don't know, but I think if we could ask for help, how powerful that is.
Yes. And also, when someone actually trusts you and reaches out, how wonderful that is to be able to support someone. And you're actually denying people the opportunity to show up for you. So it's such an important part. But I think especially when, again, this is humans, but I work with and for women, as women who have often had to fight so hard for our own identity, our sense of self, our freedom, our power, our voice,
our success, our businesses,
then it can feel like weakness.
Yes.
To say, hey, I need help. Yeah. And you're afraid, or at least I know I have been, and still at times are, like, afraid to give up pieces of that, because I remember what it was like when I lost myself. Yeah. Right?
I understand. Yeah. It's so true. And like, for someone that's trying to lead a movement, like, I 100% understand, like, but I just know that we can achieve more together. And when one rises, we all rise. If women rise, economies rise. Yeah. And, the communities rise. So I think if we can work together, and if we can just overcome that hurdle of asking for help, and it's always easier said than done, right? But letting go. And it sometimes starts, in your leadership, right? Yeah. Sometimes it starts in your leadership around letting go of some of the things that...
Yeah. And modeling it, because no one in your team or in your client base is going to feel safe to ask for help if we don't model it.
True. And also, it gives someone the opportunity to grow as well. Yeah. Like, when I had to, I'm quite passionate about what I do, and I'm a marketer like you. So it's like, sometimes when I can't get to it, I'm like, I'm doing a disservice, because I want to hold on to it. But why don't I pass this on to someone else that then gives them the opportunity to grow as well,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I can talk forever. However, I need to wrap this up. Yeah. It's terrible. I hate it. We need to do a couple more episodes. I have one last question for you. Yeah. I know it's crazy to think it's only been 3 years, but if you can go back to Mela 3 years ago, and you can tap her on the shoulder, tell her one thing, what would that be?
That's such a hard question, because I just such a different person. And I think we're all evolving, but I think it's that trust yourself more than you fear the unknown. Yeah. It's like, I just wish I could go back and just say to her, like, hey, you've got this. And like you said before, it's like, just trust that the version of you that exists will handle anything and everything that is thrown at you. And I think that's so powerful if we can all believe in ourselves, and make that an internal goal to just celebrate our ability to support ourselves.
And I mean, the data supports it, because we've all overcome 100% of our worst days. We've all navigated our way out of 100% of our shittiest situations. So that's not going to stop all of a sudden. No. We have the proof.
Exactly. Yeah. And then if it gets hard, just do one thing, one step in front of the other.
Yeah.
And like you said before, it's like, you don't know sometimes a failure is actually an opportunity, or it's it's actually a wake-up call, or it's something so positive that you didn't even, you didn't think about it. And it's that mindset.
Yeah, and keeping an open mind towards, it is what it is. Let's just see, let it unfold. Oh, I love this. So we have a tradition here at the end of the interview. We tend to flip the script. Do you have a question you'd like to ask me before we wrap this up?
Yeah, my question is around, you interview a lot of amazing women out there.
How lucky am I?
So lucky. And I'm just, I know you've got such a wealth of knowledge. Is there something that has stuck with you?
I think what's stuck with me is how similar we all are. No matter what industry we're in, what phase of our business we're in, how far along in our journey, whether we are moms, not moms, and how deep down inside we all have the same fears and doubts. And we feel, like I said, I felt so alone for so long in my entrepreneurial journey and in life. And I had to come to terms with the fact that I created that, because I didn't let anyone in. I didn't ask for help. I didn't form a community because I didn't dare to open up. And now, talking to all these amazing women, literally, this is my dream. I look around and every one of you is just the biggest business girl crush. I'm like, oh my God, I just want to be friends with everyone. And hang out.
I'm like, oh my God, you just left the room. But
but it's so good. And then it's these, the beautiful people I get to interview. I used to look at and see myself outside of that. And not from a space of I knew who I was, but I'm like, yeah, but then look what they're doing, right? And just realizing that we're all fucking doing it, and how powerful it is when we share and 100%. Actually are open and not play this part.
100%. And we're all doing it. And, even if you're not an entrepreneur, we're all doing it.
Yeah.
And it's so
we're all making this up as we go.
Yeah. All of us. And we're all succeeding and failing and growing. And it's life, right? You said, not everything has a point, or it's
it's not good or bad. It just is. And sometimes it takes years for us to see, was this good or good? Yeah. I mean, I don't even like those words, but what did this bring me? And sometimes you're lucky that you get to see it, in the moment, and you're like, this door closed because that door had to open, or because I had to take a different route. And if you can just trust that even when you can't see that, that it's there.
100%.
It's so much fun. Then life becomes like a game. You're like, okay, what's next?
Exactly. And I think things that happen, it's like, it was meant to happen. You're always meant to be that person, or you're always meant to learn that. And look who you are. And I'm in awe of a lot of people, especially women, especially mothers that, are wearing the hats and juggling and doing everything. It's just not easy, but we're all doing it. And I think there's so much power in sharing the reality.
Absolutely. And I think for anyone listening, I know this is true for you, I know it's true for me. If the version of us that existed even a year ago, but especially 3 years ago, 5 years ago, could see us now, we're walking around thinking we're not good enough here, we have to do that, we have to grow, we have to there. I know that Jela 3 years ago, 5 years ago would look at me and be like, damn girl, really? And remember that in the days where I'm like,
In the haze.
I need more, and I'm not doing well enough, and yes, I need to. Everyone, you're constantly growing and evolving, but just like fangirl on yourself sometimes.
Totally. And taking that pause, right? Like, because we're so busy doing. Do you know? We're so busy doing. We're just the next thing. Am I doing good enough?
We're human beings, not human doings.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Imagine if we could just stop and be like, fuck, I did this.
Yeah.
And look what I've done. And like, there's so much power in just
acknowledging that. And we're taught not to, right? We're taught not to celebrate and not to be loud about
poppy
it.
syndrome. But we have to, I think it's a personal thing, like it's not, it's to give yourself kudos because, you know, like I said, easier said than done. But I think it's so good.
Yeah. And you model it. You model it to your children. You model it to your team. I need to shut up because I'm going to keep on talking. Before we wrap this up, we're going to link it all in the show notes. But where can people find you and the business online?
So you can look up jobsformums.co.nz and then you can follow us on our social media as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Mela. I had a blast. Let's break open a bottle of wine next time.
Yes.